What's going on, everyone? So today we've got a little bit of a quicker one, but we got some absolutely sweet cards to talk about. We're really starting to see a massive theme from Vigilance Heroism, and there is just one incredible legendary that I think is going to be a ton of fun, especially for you Twin Suns players out there. I cannot wait to see what you all come up with. With that said, a big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. We've been chatting about these cards all day, and we've got some tournaments coming up, which I am extremely excited about as well. And let's dive straight into it with that brand new card here. I don't even know how to say this, to be honest. Is it Fatun Pala? I don't know. Anyways, 9-drop space unit, Separatist vehicle, capital ship. It's in command. It's a legendary. It's a 7/7. And here's the cool part, okay? It costs 1 less for each friendly droid unit. So for you droid lovers out there getting all those tokens out, this could potentially cost 0, right? If you got 9 droids out there. But here's the really fun part. Each friendly droid unit may be exhausted to pay costs as if it were a resource. When I first read this card, I read this as, oh, it costs 1 less, and then you may also exhaust those droids for additional resources, as if, like, let's say you had a droid, like 2 droids out there. Oh, now it costs 7, but then you can also spend, you know, an extra 2 from the resources from those droids to go ahead and drop this. But that's not actually what this is doing. This is just straight up turning all your droids into resources. Now, in some cases that could be kind of whatever, who cares? But in certain circumstances where you have big things to play, this can be extremely explosive. Now, let's talk about, obviously, in Premiere, what options do you have? It's a capital ship. Piet Red is like the immediate, kind of solution to this card, where you're playing a lot of droids. You've got things like, the probe droid. You've got things like HK. You've got things like the Series officer, all just a bunch of random droids, which honestly, most people just ignore when you're playing up against Piet Red, because you're kind of on a clock. Kind of on a ticking time bomb to where when they start dropping capital ships, it's a little bit scary. It costs 1 less period in that deck, just 8 from Piet. If Piet's out, it costs 7, and then each droid's going to reduce its cost. I mean, this could realistically, let's say you're just playing a standard curve where you go turn 1 HK, turn 2 another droid unit. That's 2 droids. That means it costs 7. Piet comes down on 5. That means that it's going to reduce this to 5. You could play this on turn 4 with Piet. And that's, pretty reasonable to expect. Like, that's not really out of the ordinary anyway, in any way. Even if you are ramping, maybe this comes down on 6 resources, it's still a 7/7, right? It's a unit that your opponent kind of has to deal with. It's a beater, but then also it will, create all those, or turn all those droids into resources. Now, in that type of style, you're not going to have a ton of resources from your droids, because you're not going to have a ton of droids out. Obviously, Invisible Hand is an amazing addition to this. The card really that I think is really exceptional with this is Dooku. And I say this with basically every Separatist that comes out, but the really exciting cards for exploit are the cards that don't actually have exploit, and you can exploit them out with some other card. So what I mean by that is a lot of the exploit cards in the game have this inflated cost for what you're getting, which is kind of unfortunate. Dooku cheats that, right? It gives exploit to reduce the cost of some powerful cards. And so if you're doing something like, let's say, oh my gosh, I forgot the name of the guy, but the 2-drop that creates extra, droids every single time you play a unit, and then you play things like droid deployment, and I don't remember what that card is, but as you are playing more and more of those droids, not only that are you going to be able to reduce the cost, but you're also going to have a lot of droids, and then you can actually reduce the cost even further by not only having those droids reduce the cost, but then also exploit one of those droids to reduce the cost even further of this droid control ship. Poggle, that's what I was talking about. Turn 1 Poggle into turn 2, battle droid escort or whatever it is, create a bunch of droids and actually get some value, and then use the, ability from this to draw more cards, or to play big space units, or big ground units, or even something like Endless Legions, right? I mean, there are some really awesome stuff you can play out of that. I do think that there isn't anything like crazy for a premiere, but this to me seems like the first true really like build around type of bomb in Twin Suns. Not that you're gonna be able to draw it or anything like that, because it's a little bit more rare, but I just think that that type of card is like the peak Timmy card that I think is really, really cool. So exciting to see that one, and I hope some of you are equally as excited. That's not all. We've got a couple of units here, some of these that I actually think are pretty interesting. First off, we got Senator Chuchi, 3-cost grad unit in Vigilance Heroism. It's a 2/5 Republic official. It's got Restore 1, and on attack, you can give another friendly official unit Restore 2. So immediately I'm thinking, okay, if you're playing this in like Satine, you could have like a Restore 6 leader, which is obnoxious. I think a lot of people are really looking at these cards like, yeah, I mean, I could see this doing some work in terms of restoring you, but where is the payoff? And that's kind of what I'm curious about. A 3-resource 2/5 is not good. With Restore 1 is also not good. You're going to really need to get value out of the Restore 2. So you're going to need to have this basically essentially read 3-resource 2/5 Restore 3 for this card to really be exciting to most people. And it's going to be a little bit tough to get the extra attack, because not only do you need to attack with this first, you also then need to attack with that other second unit, and that unit also has to be an official. So I don't think this is, necessarily a good card on first glance, but we are starting to see the construction of these official decks. And of course, like I said, in Satine, this seems like a very, very obnoxious card to be going ahead and playing. The question is, where is the payoff, right? When you talk about like Vigilance villainy, you've got things like Super Laser Blast, Avengers, Snokes, these massive, either permanent effects or just big board wipes, or coming down and end the game and constantly control the board every single turn. The best thing we've got in Heroism you could consider is like Luke Skywalker or Bo-Katan, the new Bo-Katan. And those just aren't nearly as board affecting to recoup your losses or your loss of tempo throughout the game, even if you're able to get there because of all the restoring. So where is the payoff? That's my question. And if there is, maybe Senator Chuchi will be an option for your official decks. And lastly, we've got Congress of Malastare. It's a 5-cost vigilance unit, 5/5. The first upgrade you play each phase costs 1 less. This card, similar to the capital ship, seems more like a Twin Suns card. I feel like I've been saying that quite a bit. I've kind of modified my perspective as we're getting deeper and deeper into these sets, to where I think FFG is considering, a lot of the cards, and this isn't necessarily like a huge shift, because there's, obviously been more, multiplayer slash casual cards that people are considering, but I do think FFG is kind of shifting a little bit towards that. There hasn't like an exceptionally powerful premier card that I've seen so far that is like on the level of like Poe Dameron or Crate Dragon, which we're still early into spoilers, so there's probably going to be. But this one, just giving you a bunch of resource discount, nothing great for Premier. I mean, it's a 5-resource 5/5, which isn't that good to begin with. And then, just giving you discounts on upgrades is like, most decks aren't really playing upgrades in general. I suppose you might be able to get some value out of your whatever upgrades are sitting in your hand that you happen to be playing. But if you're trying to build a full-on upgrade deck, I think this could be fun, maybe more, like I said, in Twin Suns. But that said, those are the cards that we have today. Honestly, the card that I'm most excited about is this Vatoon Pala. I'm curious as to what we're actually going to be able to do with it, because cards like this, where you have to set up with some droids and then you get this card down, the payoff, you need to have a lot of cards to be able to pay off this, ramp type effect. Get your use out of those droids like 3 to 4 times, basically turn them into like resources that accumulated 13 to 14, 15 resources in total. That's where you get the payoff from this card. You've got, let me just zoom out here, the Congress of Malastare and the Senator Chuchi. Senator Chuchi, as well as a lot of the other officials in Vigilance Heroism, are so restore heavy. I am very curious to see where the payoff is, and I do believe there's going to be one. I'm just waiting to see. And in fact, in the last couple of videos I've played in set 6, I have gotten completely dominated by like a Bo-Katan. So I'm curious to see if that is going to be something that's good enough up against certain decks, maybe, but maybe we need some more payoffs. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what you think about the capital ship, and I'll see you all for the next one.